Right, we're here in section 1.7 at the bottom of page 1 for the notes. We're going to do some practice problems here. It says to perform the indicated subtraction. I'm pretty sure what I meant to write there is perform the indicated operation, or maybe multiplication. Let me just peek ahead at my other notes here. Let's do operation. I'll get that fixed in the next round. Sorry about that. Okay, and the rules are up above on your notes on the paper that you're looking at, but you can't see them on screen. So if the signs are the same, positive times positive, or positive divided by positive, negative times negative, or negative divided by negative, you're going to come up with a positive answer. Same signs, positive. Different signs, positive, negative, positive, multiplying, or positive divided by negative, or negative divided by positive, any of those where you're multiplying or dividing and the two signs are different from each other, then your answer will be negative. So let's look at a couple of these examples here. Number 12 has 1/3 parentheses, meaning multiplication, negative 21. So we're looking at and for those of you who are a little stuck, sometimes multiplying and dividing positive and negatives sticks from the get-go and it's never an issue. For some people, once you start mixing it up with the adding and subtracting again, it gets a little iffy. So my suggestion is do the rehearsal that you need to do now so it's solid for you come exam time. Here's one way to do that. Write out what you see. I see a positive times a negative. Positive times a negative. Those signs are different. My answer is going to be negative. And just kind of talk yourself through it, write it out for yourself. You don't have to do this, but again, you want to come up with the skills that's going to help you get ready for the test, okay? This is a class full of adults, and so we have to come to a full understanding of how we individually learn best, and then take what the class offers and the book offers and come up with the strategies that are going to make it the best possible experience and do our best on the exams. Maximize the learning, maximize the points. So in this case, we've got a fraction times a whole integer here. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that as a fraction, 21/1. It is negative, but I can ignore that now because I know my answer is going to be negative. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Especially for those of you who are tempted to now subtract for some reason, don't bring that into it. We are multiplying and multiplying only, okay? So we've got fraction times a fraction. We go top times top, bottom times bottom. Again, at this point, know how you are with fractions. If you need help, get that extra help. Me or outside resource, or check the syllabus for options. See me and I'll get you some help. We'll point you in the right direction. Don't wait any longer. It's time. Okay, hopefully you can look at that and know exactly what to do. Top times top, bottom times bottom. What I would recommend also is that maybe some pre-canceling here, where you notice that that's 3 times 7. 21 can break into 3 times 7. That 3 on the top, the 3 on the bottom is like it's a 3/3, which is just multiplying by 1. So it doesn't change the value by canceling that out. You're left with a 1 and a 7 on top. It's just 7. And a 1 on the bottom, which is just going to be plain old 7. And of course it's negative. That negative just comes all the way through. You can double check with your plan at the beginning. You knew they were different signs from the get-go, and so you knew your answer was going to be negative. So if that helps you. The second example, number 18, we've got a negative 5/11 times 2/7. And so we've got a negative times a positive. Again, the signs are different. My answer is going to be negative. And I've got fractions here, 5/11, 2/7. I'm going to go top times top, bottom times bottom. I'm going to get 5 times 2 on the top, which is going to be 10. 11 times 7 on the bottom, which is 77. It does not reduce, and I actually looked before I started multiplying. I didn't say anything out loud. I guess I should have. But 5 can't break down, 2 can't break down, and 5 and 2 do not go, they aren't factors of 11 or 7. So I did some kind of pre-canceling checking here, which means I know I don't have to reduce. And my answer is going to be negative because I saw from the beginning it was a negative times a positive, different signs. And here's one for you to try. You might want to notice what's different about it and how does that change things, or does it change things? And pause the video and we'll reveal the answer when you come back. Okay, you should end up with a positive 15 over 56. It does not reduce. We can look at that one a little closer during class. On page 70, great reminder. We're talking about multiplying more than two numbers. Assuming that none of the factors are 0, if you have an even number of negatives in the multiplication, your answer is going to be positive. If you have an odd number of negatives, the answer is going to be negative. And the multiplication is performed by multiplying the absolute values. In other words, you just look at the numbers, multiply them, and count how many negatives are present. Count how many negatives are present. And if any factor is 0, of course, the whole answer is 0. So let's look at number 26 and see what we're trying to do here. We've got negative 2 times negative 7 times negative 1 times 3. Now we could just go through this and say, look at the first two, because it's all multiplications. We'll just go left to right here. Negative times negative would get you a positive. And then that positive times the negative would get you a negative. And then that negative times the positive would get you a negative. You could just track it all the way through if you wished. What would that look like? Negative 7 times negative 2 would be a positive 14. And then positive 14 times the negative 1 times 3. That positive 14 times negative 1 next would give you a negative 14. And then you've still got the times 3. And then that would give you a negative 42, because we've got different signs. One negative, one positive. So negative 42 would be our final answer there. What this is saying is, if you have a big old string of numbers, you can just go through and predict positive or negative by saying, hey, every pair of them, every two negatives is going to multiply or divide to get me a positive. So I just need to see if I have pairs of 2 with 1 left over, which would be an odd number of negatives, or all pairs of 2. Every negative has another match out there, has a pair, which would mean an even number of negatives. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3 negatives. Our answer is negative. Great little way to check yourself too. Again, though, you can always just go straight through, okay? These extra rules are just observations that have been made, patterns that appear, and usually it translates to a shortcut or another way to do it. But if the other way is making sense to you and it's working, just going straight through pair by pair, just like I did with this one, the 14 and then the 14 and 1, and then the negative 14 and 3, and then your final answer of negative 42, go for it. You go with what makes sense, and you're confidently getting correct answers consistently. Okay. So let's look at this. Let's try it the other way. We've got 4 negatives being multiplied so that it's an even number, and so then our answer is going to be positive. And then we just go 3 times 2 times 5 times 1. I can even group these. 3 times 2 is 6. 5 times 1 is 5. I get an answer of 30, and it is positive. And you can try number 34 here. Go ahead and pause and give it a whirl, and we will reveal it after you come back. Alright, okay, this one was a little bit of a stinker here. I threw this one in. I want to make sure you're awake and paying attention. It's a good lesson in looking at the whole problem first. If you just dove in and started doing pairs of numbers, you would have done a lot of effort and then seen that there was a 0 being multiplied. And since everything's multiplication, as soon as you throw that 0 in, it makes the whole thing 0. If 0 wasn't there, it would have 4 negatives. That answer would have been positive. Okay, big, it would have been a big number. There's some big numbers being multiplied there, but it would have been positive. The 0 causes everything to be 0. Okay, I will see you on page 2.